The silent warning. The stars gleamed like scattered diamonds against the vast emptiness of space as the Earth exploration vessel Horizon cut silently through the void. Captain Elena Reyes stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display before her. The display showed a massive alien vessel, nearly 3 times the size of the Horizon, hovering at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system, Earth's nearest stellar neighbor and home to humanity's most ambitious colonial effort. "How long have they been there, Commander Chen?" Elena asked, her voice steady despite the tension coiling in her stomach. Commander David Chen, her second-in-command and longtime friend, consulted his datapad. "Almost 18 hours, Captain. They've made no attempt to communicate or respond to our hails." Elena nodded, her expression betraying nothing of her concern. In the 15 years since humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel and begun its careful expansion into the stars, they had encountered only 3 other spacefaring species. All 3 had been cautiously diplomatic, if somewhat aloof. None had ever positioned a warship, for there was no mistaking the alien vessel's purpose, so close to a human settlement. "Keep trying all frequencies. I want to talk before anyone gets trigger-happy," she ordered. As if responding to her words, the alien ship suddenly pulsed with ethereal blue light. A moment later, the communications officer called out, "Captain, we're receiving a transmission." On screen, Elena commanded, straightening her uniform jacket. The holographic display shifted, revealing a being unlike any Elena had encountered before. The alien had a tall, slender body covered in iridescent scales that shifted from deep purple to brilliant gold as it moved. Its head was elongated with 3 faceted eyes arranged in a triangle, and what appeared to be breathing membranes pulsated at its neck. "I am High Commander Zex Terrell of the Vraxian Collective." The alien's words came through the translator after a brief delay. "Your presence has been noted and categorized. Identify yourself, lesser species." Elena felt her jaw tighten at the dismissive tone, but maintained her diplomatic composure. "I am Captain Elena Reyes of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon. On behalf of humanity and the United Earth Government, I extend greetings and an offer of peaceful dialogue." The alien, Zex Terrell, made a sound that the translator struggled with before rendering as a laugh. "Peace. Dialogue. Your species barely understands how to leave its own gravitational well. We have existed among the stars for millennia, while you were still discovering fire." "Nevertheless," Elena replied evenly, "we are here now, and we seek mutual understanding rather than conflict." "Understanding is not necessary for species of your development level," Zex Terrell responded. "The collective has cataloged your capabilities. You are non-threatening and resource inefficient. This system has been marked for Vraxian expansion. Your colony will be permitted to remain as a study subject until resources are required." Elena felt her blood run cold. This system is recognized as sovereign human territory by interstellar treaty. "Treaties with primitive species hold no value to the collective," Zex Terrell interrupted. "You will be contacted when decisions affecting you are made. Compliance is expected." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "Well," Commander Chen said after a moment, "that was enlightening." "And concerning," Elena added, turning to her tactical officer. "Lieutenant Wade, what's your assessment of their capabilities?" Lieutenant Amara Wade, the Horizon's tactical genius and a veteran of Earth's last global conflict, studied her displays carefully. "Their technology appears significantly advanced, Captain. Energy readings suggest weapon systems we can't even categorize. Their hull material would likely withstand our most powerful armaments with minimal damage. So in a fight, we wouldn't stand a chance," Wade finished bluntly. Elena nodded, accepting the assessment without surprise. "Send a priority transmission to Earth Command. Include everything we've learned about the Vraxians and request immediate instructions." 3 months later, Elena found herself back on Earth, standing before the United Earth Defense Council in their underground chamber beneath the rebuilt Geneva complex. The room was dimly lit, with the 15 council members seated around a semicircular table, their faces grave. "Captain Reyes," began Admiral Hassan, the head of the council, "your reports on the Vraxian Collective have been deeply troubling. In the time since your first encounter, they have established outposts in 3 systems claimed by humanity and have begun mining operations on planets we were preparing for colonization. They've made their intentions clear, Admiral," Elena responded. "They view us as primitives, barely worth acknowledging except as an anthropological curiosity." Admiral Hassan nodded. "Their technological superiority appears significant, based on your scans and observations." "Yes, sir." Lieutenant Wade estimated their weapons systems are at least 2 centuries ahead of our current capabilities. A murmur ran through the council members, but Admiral Hassan silenced them with a raised hand. "And yet," he said slowly, "they have no idea who they're dealing with, do they?" Elena felt a chill at his words, recognizing their significance. "No, sir. I don't believe they do." Hassan exchanged glances with the other council members, a silent communication passing between them. Finally, he turned back to Elena. "The council has made its decision. The Prometheus Protocol has been authorized." The room fell completely silent. Elena felt her breath catch. The Prometheus Protocol was something most military personnel heard whispered about, but never expected to witness activated. It represented humanity's ultimate contingency plan, a full revealing of technological capabilities that had been intentionally kept hidden from the galactic community. "Captain Reyes," Admiral Hassan continued, "you have been selected to deliver our response to the Vraxian Collective. Your ship has been upgraded with systems from the Prometheus Vault. You will carry our message to the Vraxians." "What message will I be delivering, sir?" Elena asked, though she suspected she already knew. Admiral Hassan handed her a small crystalline cube, no larger than a die. "This contains only 5 words, Captain. 5 words that have defined humanity's approach to interstellar relations since we first ventured beyond our solar system." Elena accepted the cube, feeling its weight in her palm, a weight far greater than its physical mass. "And if they ignore the warning, sir?" Admiral Hassan's eyes hardened. "Then they will learn why humanity has survived every catastrophe our planet has ever thrown at us. They will learn why, despite our relatively brief time among the stars, other species have given us a wide berth. They will learn what we are capable of when pushed too far." He leaned forward, his voice barely above a whisper. "They will learn why humanity's promise is the most terrifying thing in the galaxy." 2 weeks later, the horizon approached the massive Vraxian command vessel orbiting what had once been designated as New Terra, a habitable world in the Toph Ceres system. But the horizon that returned was not the same vessel that had first encountered the Vraxians. Its hull now gleamed with a peculiar darkness that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Its engines emitted no visible exhaust, and sensor scans would have revealed nothing but background radiation. On the bridge, Elena sat in the command chair, watching as the Vraxian vessel grew larger on the view screen. The crew worked with quiet efficiency, each aware of the historical significance of their mission. "They've detected us," Commander Chen reported. "They're hailing us." On screen, Elena ordered. Zex Terrell appeared, his iridescent scales flashing with what Elena now recognized as irritation. "Captain of the primitive vessel, your return is unexpected and unwelcome. State your purpose." Elena rose from her chair, standing tall. "High Commander Zex Terrell, I come bearing an official message from the United Earth government regarding your incursions into human space." More protests. Zex Terrell's translator conveyed disdain. "Your species' persistence is becoming tiresome. The Collective has already determined your technological and military capabilities pose no threat to our operations. I believe you've misunderstood something fundamental about humanity, Commander," Elena replied calmly. "What you've seen of our technology, our weapons, our capabilities, that was not the extent of what we can do. That was what we chose to show." For the first time, Zex Terrell seemed to pause, his central eye narrowing slightly. "Explain." Humanity has a long history of violence, Commander. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times before we reached the stars. When we finally achieved interstellar travel, we made a promise to ourselves and to the galaxy. We promised restraint. We promised to approach new civilizations with peace first. We promised to keep our most destructive capabilities locked away, unused unless absolutely necessary. Elena held up the crystalline cube. This contains our official response to your aggression. I suggest you consider it carefully. With a nod to her communications officer, the cube's contents were transmitted to the Vraxian vessel. On the view screen, Elena watched as Zex Terrell received the message, his breathing membranes pulsating more rapidly. 5 words. Zex Terrell's voice carried a note of confusion. This is your response. 5 words, Elena confirmed, that have guided our interstellar policy since we left our solar system. We are peaceful. Don't make us. For a long moment, Zex Terrell stared at her through the view screen, his alien features unreadable. Then, slowly, his mouth parts moved in what the translator rendered as laughter. Is this a threat, human? He asked, amusement evident in his tone. You believe 5 words will deter the collective. Your primitive psychology is even more fascinating than we thought. Elena's expression remained neutral. It's not a threat, Commander. It's a promise, and humanity keeps its promises. Your warning is noted and dismissed, Zex Terrell replied. The collective will continue its operations as planned. Your species will learn its place in the galactic hierarchy. As the transmission ended, Commander Chen moved to stand beside Elena. They didn't take it seriously, he observed quietly. No, Elena agreed, a weight settling in her chest. They didn't. What happens now, Captain? Elena turned from the view screen, her eyes meeting those of her second-in-command. Now we wait, Commander. We give them one last chance to reconsider. And if they don't? She glanced around at her crew, seeing the resolve in their eyes. Then we keep our promise. Awakening the giant. 1 month after delivering humanity's warning, Elena stood on the bridge of the horizon, watching with cold fury as the emergency transmission played on the main view screen. The images showed the human research outpost on Proxima Centauri, New Eden, burning under Vraxian bombardment. The facility had been home to over 3,000 scientists, engineers, and their families, including the first generation of humans born on an extrasolar world. Survivors? Elena asked, her voice tight. Lieutenant Wade consulted her terminal. Initial reports indicate approximately 500 made it to the emergency shelters, Captain. The Vraxians targeted the main habitation domes first, then methodically destroyed research facilities, power plants, and finally life support systems. Bastards, Commander Chen muttered, standing rigid beside Elena. They didn't even issue an ultimatum or warning. They don't see us as worth warning. Elena replied, her words like ice, just like they didn't take our warning seriously. Her communication officer spoke up. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Hassan. Priority Alpha. Put him through. Admiral Hassan's weathered face appeared on the screen, his expression grave but resolute. Captain Reyes, I assume you've received the data on New Eden. Yes, sir. We're processing it now. Then you understand what must happen next. It wasn't a question. Elena nodded once. The Prometheus protocol has been fully activated. Affirmative. As of 600 Universal Time, the United Earth Council voted unanimously to release all technological restrictions. The vault has been opened, Captain. You are authorized to deploy all systems installed on the horizon and to execute Operation Prometheus. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Every crew member understood the significance of what was happening. For over a century, humanity had hidden its true capabilities from the rest of the galaxy, presenting a deliberately restrained face to the universe. Now that mask was about to fall away. We're transmitting the activation codes now, Hassan continued. May God help us all. As the transmission ended, Elena turned to her crew. Commander Chen, initiate Prometheus systems. Lieutenant Wade, prepare combat protocols. Navigation, plot a course for the Vraxian command vessel. It's time they learned who they're dealing with. Throughout the ship, previously hidden systems hummed to life. Armor plating that had appeared standard now reconfigured at the molecular level, becoming a metamaterial that could absorb and redirect energy. Weapons bays opened to reveal armaments based on principles the Vraxians couldn't begin to comprehend. The ship's eye, previously operating at a fraction of its capacity, awakened to its full potential. "Systems online, Captain," Commander Chen reported, a mix of awe and apprehension in his voice. "The horizon is transformed." Elena nodded, taking her seat in the command chair. "Set course for Vraxian command vessel. Maximum speed." The horizon leaped forward, accelerating to velocities that would have been impossible just hours before. Stars streaked past on the view screen as the ship tore through spacetime, riding the edges of physical laws that humanity had quietly mastered decades ago. High Commander Zex Terrell stood on the command deck of the Collective's flagship, the Inexorable Dominion, reviewing reports of the successful neutralization of the human outpost. The operation had gone precisely as planned, quick, efficient, and with minimal Vraxian casualties. The humans' defensive capabilities had been exactly as predicted, primitive and ineffective. "The cleansing operation has been completed, High Commander," his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vex Neural, reported. "Salvage teams are moving in to recover useful technology and resources." "Excellent," Zex Terrell replied, his scales shifting to a satisfied golden hue. "And what of the survivors?" "They have been contained within their emergency shelters. The atmospheric processors have been reprogrammed to gradually reduce oxygen levels. They will lose consciousness within hours and expire shortly thereafter. No direct intervention required." Zex Terrell made a gesture of approval. "A clean solution. The Collective Ethics Committee will be satisfied." "Have the analysis teams prepared their assessment of human psychological response patterns?" "Yes, High Commander. Based on our studies of human behavior and their historical records, we predict a disorganized response. Their fractious nature will likely result in internal conflicts over how to proceed. Some factions will advocate surrender, others will attempt futile resistance. In either case, the outcome is—" Vex Neural was interrupted by an urgent alert from the sensor officer. "High Commander, unknown vessel approaching at impossible velocity. Identify." Zex Terrell commanded, his membranes pulsating with irritation at the interruption. The sensor officer's faceted eyes widened. It appears to be the human vessel Horizon, but the energy signature is unlike any we've recorded from their technology." "Impossible," Zex Terrell dismissed. "Their vessel was Catalogue. It possessed no threat capability." "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're being hailed." On screen. Let us hear what excuses the primitives offer before their inevitable capitulation. The holographic display shimmered, and Captain Elena Reyes appeared. Zex Terrell noticed immediately that something had changed. The human's demeanor was different, colder, harder, with none of the diplomatic restraint she had shown in their previous encounters. "High Commander Zex Terrell," Elena began without preamble, "you were warned." Zex Terrell felt a flicker of unease but suppressed it quickly. "Captain Reyes, your persistence is noted. Have you come to surrender formally on behalf of your species?" "No," Elena replied simply. "I've come to demonstrate why your attack on New Eden was the greatest mistake the Vraxian Collective has ever made. Threats from a primitive species do not concern us," Zex Terrell responded dismissively. "Your single vessel, regardless of whatever modifications you may have made, cannot stand against the Might-Off." "Scan us," Elena interrupted. "Go ahead. I'll wait." Something in her tone made Zex Terrell hesitate. He gestured to his sensor officer, who immediately began a deep scan of the human vessel. The officer's reaction was immediate and disturbing. "High Commander, this can't be right. The energy readings, the metallurgical analysis, the weapons signatures. None of this matches our database on human technology. These readings suggest capabilities we've only theorized about. For the first time since the encounter with humans began, Zex Terrell felt genuine concern. "Explain, Captain Rice. What deception is this?" "No deception, Commander. Just the truth we chose not to share." Alina leaned forward slightly. "Humanity has a dark history. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times before we reached the stars. We developed weapons of such devastating potential that they threatened not just our enemies, but ourselves, our entire planet. When we finally achieved interstellar travel and began to encounter other species, we made a collective decision. We would hide our true capabilities. We would approach the galaxy with an extended hand rather than a raised fist. We would present ourselves as less advanced than we truly were, to avoid being perceived as a threat." Zex Terrell's scales had shifted to a pale blue, a sign of deep unease that he couldn't fully control. "Why? No species would willingly appear weaker than they are." "Because we know ourselves," Alina answered simply. "We know what we're capable of when provoked. And we wanted to give peace every possible chance before we revealed what humanity truly is." She paused, her dark eyes locked on Zex Terrell's central eye. "But you didn't listen to our warning. You attacked a civilian outpost. You killed thousands of innocents, including children. And now you've forced our hand. What do you want?" Zex Terrell asked, the dismissive tone gone from his voice. "Justice," Alina replied. "Withdrawal of all Vraxian forces from human claimed systems, reparations for the attack on New Eden, and a formal acknowledgement that the Vraxian collective violated interstellar law." Zex Terrell's breathing membranes pulsated rapidly. "The collective does not bow to. You have 1 hour to begin evacuation of your military personnel." Alina cut him off. "Civilians and non-combatants will be given safe passage. After that time, we will demonstrate exactly what humanity is capable of when we stop restraining ourselves." The transmission cut off, leaving the Vraxian command deck in stunned silence. "High Commander," Sub-Commander Vex Neural spoke carefully, "our analysis teams have been reviewing the historical data the humans transmitted months ago. We may have misinterpreted critical information." "Explain," Zex Terrell demanded, his unease growing by the moment. "The humans have a concept called classify technology. Throughout their history, they have developed weapons and defensive systems that they keep hidden from their own population. Their most devastating weapons were developed centuries ago, then locked away under ethical protocols." The tactical officer interrupted urgently. "High Commander, the human vessel is deploying something. Thousands of small objects are emerging from hidden bays." On the main display, Zex Terrell watched as the human ship released a cloud of what appeared to be metallic dust. The particles spread rapidly, forming a complex three-dimensional lattice around the horizon. "What is this?" he demanded. No one on his command deck had an answer. None of them had ever seen anything like it. Within minutes, the strange lattice had expanded to surround not just the human ship, but the entire Vraxian fleet. Sensor readings became distorted, then failed completely. "Weapons status," Zex Terrell barked. "Targeting systems are non-functional," the weapons officer reported, panic edging into his voice. "The lattice appears to be absorbing our scanner pulses. We're effectively blind." Zex Terrell made a decision. Launch fighter squadrons, visual targeting only. The order was relayed, and soon hundreds of Vraxian fighters poured from the fleet's carriers, streaking toward the human vessel. They never arrived. As they approached the edge of the strange lattice, the fighters simply stopped. Not destroyed, not damaged. They hung motionless in space as if frozen in time. "High Commander," the communications officer called out, "we're being hailed again." Zex Terrell hesitated, then nodded. Captain Reyes appeared once more on the display. "Your fighter pilots are unharmed," she said without preamble. "They're suspended in a localized temporal field, another technology we developed centuries ago, but chose not to deploy. They're experiencing time at approximately 1/10,000th the normal rate. For them, barely a millisecond has passed since they encountered the field. Impossible, Zex Terrell whispered, though the evidence was before his eyes. You still don't understand, Alina said, shaking her head. What you're seeing is just one system on one ship. Across human space, our other vessels and installations are awakening to their true potential. The mask is coming off, Commander. 53 minutes remain before we take action against your fleet. The transmission ended, leaving Zex Terrell to contemplate options that suddenly seemed very limited. High Commander, his strategic analyst spoke up, her voice trembling slightly. I have completed an assessment of the human historical records with particular attention to their warfare techniques. Tell me, Zex Terrell ordered. They are uniquely terrifying. Unlike any species we've encountered, the Vraxian collective has always expanded through superior technology and force. We overwhelm and intimidate. But humans, she hesitated. Humans have fought wars against themselves where both sides were technologically matched. They developed strategies not for overwhelming force, but for victory against equals or even superiors. Furthermore, she continued, their psychological warfare techniques are sophisticated beyond anything in our military doctrine. They understand concepts like terror and demoralization at a fundamental level that our species has never needed to explore. Sub-Commander Vex Neural approached Zex Terrell, speaking in a low voice. High Commander, I believe we have gravely misjudged the humans. The evidence suggests they have been holding back not out of weakness, but out of mercy. Zex Terrell's scales had faded to a pallid gray. Prepare evacuation protocols, he ordered quietly. Contact the human vessel. Inform Captain Rice that we accept her terms. 6 months later, Alina Rice stood in the rebuilt central plaza of New Eden Colony, watching as construction drones completed work on the memorial to those lost in the Vraxian attack. The gleaming spire of remembrance rose against the alien sky, a reminder of both tragedy and resilience. Admiral Hassan approached, his uniform impeccable despite the planet's reddish dust. Beautiful work, he commented, nodding toward the memorial. Simple but powerful. Alina nodded. The survivors designed it. They wanted something that honored the dead without dwelling on the violence of how they were lost. They stood in silence for a moment before Hassan spoke again. The Vraxian Treaty delegation has arrived in Earth orbit. The collective's Supreme Council is apparently in shock over how quickly they were brought to the negotiating table. They still don't fully understand what happened, do they? Alina asked. Hassan shook his head. No, and that's part of the problem. They're terrified now, which is understandable, but fear is a dangerous foundation for lasting peace. What happens now, Admiral? We can't put the genie back in the bottle. The galaxy knows what we are, what we can do when pushed too far. No, we can't go back, Hassan agreed. But perhaps we can go forward differently. The fear will fade in time. What will remain is respect, and perhaps, eventually, understanding. He turned to face her directly. That warning we sent them, those 5 words, they weren't just for the Vraxians, you know. They were a reminder to ourselves as well, of who we want to be. Alina looked out over the colony, at the children playing in the newly planted gardens, at the scientists returning to their laboratories, at the ordinary people going about their lives under an extraordinary sky. We are peaceful. Don't make us, she quoted softly. A promise we made to the stars. And to ourselves, Hassan added. The most difficult promise of all to keep. As the twin suns of Proxima Centauri began to set, casting long shadows across the rebuilt colony, Alina thought about humanity's long, violent history and its hopeful future. The galaxy had seen a glimpse of what humans could do when pushed to the edge. Now, perhaps, they would understand why humans had chosen peace first. Not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Not out of fear, but out of hope. A hope that stemmed from knowing exactly what lay on the other side of that choice. The Vraxians had mocked humanity's words. Then humans had kept their promise. And now, the galaxy would never be the same.